Father-inflicted abuse, a subset of domestic abuse, involves any form of physical, emotional, sexual, or psychological harm directed by fathers towards their children. This form of abuse is often overshadowed by more commonly addressed types of domestic violence, partly due to societal norms that regard fathers as primary providers and protectors. The importance of addressing father-inflicted abuse is critical in fostering a comprehensive approach to tackling domestic violence. Recognizing and confronting this form of abuse challenges entrenched stereotypes about family roles and highlights the need for support systems that ensure all forms of abuse are acknowledged and addressed. By doing so, society can work towards protecting vulnerable individuals and breaking cycles of abuse that can be perpetuated across generations. Several real-world examples underscore the importance of addressing father-inflicted abuse. One poignant example is the case of Gabriel Fernandez, a young boy who suffered and eventually died from prolonged abuse by his mother and stepfather. Stories like Gabriel's shed light on the extreme consequences of parental abuse and the systemic failures in recognizing and intervening in these situations. Another example is the hidden emotional abuse that often goes unnoticed in patriarchal family settings, where fathers may use coercion, belittling, or manipulation to control their children. Such psychological abuse can lead to long-lasting trauma, affecting a child's self-esteem and mental health. Opinions supporting the need to address father-inflicted abuse come from child welfare advocates and psychologists who argue for greater awareness and more robust institutional responses. They emphasize the necessity of changing legal and social services frameworks to better identify and respond to cases involving fathers as perpetrators. However, there are challenges and controversies in tackling this issue. Some cultural norms still resist acknowledging fathers as potential abusers, fearing it undermines family structure or masculine identities. Furthermore, proving emotional and psychological abuse in legal settings can be difficult, leading to hesitance in making accusations. This focus on father-inflicted abuse intersects with broader narratives of gender roles and family dynamics. Addressing this facet of domestic violence necessitates a re-evaluation of societal norms and family intervention policies. By bringing attention to the issue, it connects to the larger movement toward eradicating all forms of domestic abuse, promoting family environments where the safety and well-being of children are paramount. Recognizing patterns is a crucial step in identifying father-inflicted abuse across various settings, such as homes, schools, and communities. This concept involves understanding and being able to discern the often subtle signs of abuse perpetrated by fathers, which can include psychological, physical, or emotional harm. Recognizing these patterns is essential, not only for the protection of victims, but also for awareness and education that can lead to preventive measures. Often cloaked in stereotypes of father figures as protectors and providers, abuse by fathers can be overlooked due to societal norms and prejudices that paint men only as positive influencers in their children's lives. The significance of identifying these patterns lies in breaking the cycle of abuse and promoting a healthier understanding of family dynamics. Bringing this issue to light helps debunk the myth that only mothers can be abusive, or that fathers are less involved in daily interactions that may lead to abusive behavior. By shedding light on this hidden reality, society can foster more comprehensive support systems for all victims of domestic abuse. One example of recognizing patterns in father-inflicted abuse is seen in educational settings where teachers and counselors are trained to notice changes in a child's behavior or academic performance. These shifts can indicate underlying issues at home, including potential abuse. Another example is in healthcare, where medical professionals might be alerted to signs of physical harm or psychological distress during routine checkups, especially if injuries are inconsistent with explanations provided by the father. Support for this idea comes from numerous child welfare activists and psychologists who argue that increased awareness and targeted training can significantly improve detection rates, thus preventing further harm. However, challenges persist due to the deep-rooted cultural narratives that view fathers primarily as economic providers and authoritative figures. Such stereotypes can lead to denial, underreporting, and a lack of resources dedicated to victims of paternal abuse. Moreover, there is controversy around false accusations. Some argue that accusations could arise out of contentious family disputes. Addressing father-inflicted abuse must be done cautiously and judiciously to ensure both protection for true victims and fairness for the accused. Recognizing patterns in father-inflicted abuse is a pivotal step that influences the broader understanding of domestic abuse, highlighting the need for gender-neutral approaches to tackling family violence. It underlines the importance of evolving societal perceptions about family roles and responsibilities, encouraging a move towards more holistic and inclusive definitions of abuse and victimhood. Cultural and societal factors play a crucial role in how father-inflicted abuse is often overlooked within society. This concept involves the social norms, values, and beliefs that shape our perceptions of fatherhood and abuse. Traditionally, fathers are perceived as protectors and providers, which can create a societal blind spot when it comes to acknowledging them as potential abusers. Stereotypes about masculinity and paternal roles contribute to the reluctance in recognizing or addressing abuse perpetrated by fathers. This oversight is significant because it perpetuates a cycle of unreported and unaddressed abuse, impacting the lives of countless individuals and families. The importance of understanding cultural and societal factors is underscored by the need to shed light on these hidden realities. When society fails to recognize the possibility of father-inflicted abuse, victims are often left without support or validation. Acknowledging and challenging these cultural narratives is vital to provide comprehensive support to all abuse victims and foster environments where abuse is not tolerated, regardless of the perpetrator's identity. Real-world examples illustrate how deeply ingrained these cultural factors are. In many communities, the cultural idealization of the father figure makes it difficult for victims to come forward. For instance, in certain cultures where patriarchal structures dominate, children and mothers may face severe societal pressure not to speak against the father, further silencing victims. Additionally, legal and institutional biases can downplay allegations against fathers, as seen in some family court systems that prioritize maintaining the father-child relationship over investigating claims of abuse. Supporting these insights, some sociologists argue that the enduring myths of fatherhood contribute to this blind spot, emphasizing the need for societal change to include all forms of abuse in public discourse. However, there are challenges and alternative viewpoints. Some may argue that focusing on father-inflicted abuse could unjustly vilify fathers or undermine the importance of fatherhood. Others point out that abuse is a complex issue that must be addressed holistically, considering all possible perpetrators. This discussion ties back to the broader theme of a hidden reality by highlighting how social norms and values not only obscure the visibility of father-inflicted abuse, but also influence legal, social, and familial structures. Challenging these cultural factors is essential for more comprehensive recognition of abuse across all its forms, ultimately pushing society toward greater awareness and prevention measures. When discussing the impact of father-inflicted abuse, it's crucial to consider both long-term and short-term consequences on victims. Father-inflicted abuse is a complex and often overlooked issue where children experience various forms of physical, emotional, or psychological harm inflicted by their fathers or father figures. The effects of such abuse can be profound, leaving deep scars that influence a child's development and well-being throughout their life. In the short term, victims may exhibit signs of anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and difficulties in school or social settings. These immediate consequences underscore the significance of recognizing and addressing father-inflicted abuse promptly, as these initial impacts can cascade into more severe issues if left untreated. Long-term consequences often manifest as chronic mental health conditions, such as PTSD, ongoing relationship difficulties, and a tendency to perpetuate cycles of violence in future generations. These enduring effects highlight the pervasive nature of father-inflicted abuse, emphasizing its importance within the broader discussion of societal and familial dynamics. One illustrative example of these impacts can be found in the case of a young adult struggling with trust issues rooted in a childhood marred by emotional abuse from a father. Another example might include an individual who, having faced physical abuse, grapples with substance abuse as a coping mechanism. These scenarios underline the widespread and entrenched nature of the issue. Supporters of raising awareness about father-inflicted abuse argue that society must acknowledge and address the gendered perspective of abuse, as fathers are frequently perceived as protectors rather than perpetrators. Recognizing this reality is essential to breaking down stigmas and encouraging victims to seek help without fear of social judgment. However, addressing this issue is not without challenges and controversies. Some may argue that focusing on father-inflicted abuse could overshadow other forms of abuse or reinforce negative stereotypes about men. Others might contend that societal norms often dictate a silence around male figures in abusive contexts, making it difficult to have open, productive conversations about the subject. The consequences of father-inflicted abuse are intertwined with several other aspects of the main topic, including the portrayal of masculinity, the role of societal norms in perpetuating abuse, and the importance of providing holistic support systems for victims. By understanding the multifaceted impacts on victims, we can begin to unravel and address the complex layers of father-inflicted abuse, ultimately fostering a more inclusive and empathetic societal approach to all forms of domestic violence.